Whatever you're hustling or whatever you're working on, if you believe in it, go for it, but work hard at it. I think oftentimes in our careers, we think it's got to be this, or I have to have it totally planned out. But I think as you're always developing and always progressing forward and ready to be flexible and adjust, opportunities do come.
So, guys, today on the DJ Seelitz Business Podcast, we've got Kiem Ho, who's had a career in marketing for a long time. He went to Brigham Young University. We got the flag, went there, and then got an MBA at the University of Texas at Austin. And then it's just been involved with marketing. Has had some cool opportunities from your internship at Proctor Gamble. And then, was a head of marketing at Henkel, Campbell Soup, and all these different companies. And now he's a CEO, and he was been involved with small businesses, but now he's the CEO of Moonshot 11, his own marketing agency. So, Kiem, thanks so much for joining.
You're welcome, Charlie. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So how you doing? What's new?
Well, we're trying to navigate business in a time when things are challenging, but with anything, when you have difficult things come, you either roll over or you try to find a way through it. So we're finding our way through it. So we're still seeking to try to get new clients, help the clients that we currently have navigate through it, and try to it's been difficult for everyone, but I see opportunity, and we're going to keep on going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So tell us kind of, what is your marketing agency exactly? Like, for those who don't know, it's involved in small businesses, but what are you guys all about, and what are a lot of the clients that you work with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd probably say first off that I've been involved with some other marketing agencies as well, and a lot of the agencies out there, basically they're trying to help businesses grow, and they often do it through creative. You see commercials and so forth. Well, the premise or foundation of that is ideally connecting with customers in a way that they reward you with their business. And so I started Moonshot 11 because I feel, and given my experience, that it's really simple. Marketing is, our tagline is marketing made easy. Because it's complicated. There's a lot of things out there. There's thousands of marketing technologies and so forth. But we wanted to make it easy for entrepreneurs, businesses, and we gear towards small to mid-sized businesses. And we want to help those. The perfect customer for us is someone who really wants to grow their business, whether it's a new business or whether they see an opportunity and they want to have significant growth, because we can help them with that. And so our mantra is we make it easy by helping them get more customers. We do things in a way that makes it more affordable, so there's a profit benefit for them as well. And then lastly, because oftentimes resources are always a scarce commodity. And so we provide not only resources from our team perspective, but we have access to a lot of tools, a lot of partners that make it easier for an organization saying, you know what, instead of hiring another marketer or hiring someone, why not go with a team that can bring you all this expertise, and it really makes their dollar stretch for them, and also the quality. And so Moonshot 11, the way we started, of course, the name, it reminds us of the Apollo 11 launch. In fact, I wanted Moonshot as the name of the company. Then when we looked for the trademark, it was already owned by Alphabet, who owns Google. And so we were kind of bummed about that. But then, I said, why don't we just add a number? It sounds even cooler. Moonshot 11, Apollo 11. They're the ones that actually landed on the moon. And so our vision is we want to help companies get to their moonshot. And so it's been fun.
That's super cool. Recently, I've been reading this book, Start With Why, by Simon Sinek. And it was a really cool. One of the things he mentions is the Apollo 11 mission, and something I didn't realize, but like JFK, who was really leading that endeavor, and then he was assassinated, but it kept on going. It moved on, and then they ended up, putting that man on the moon for the first time ever. And a year later.
I love what he says about, we're not going to the moon because it's easy, but because it's hard. And if you're in your own business or business competition, it's hard. And so, but the resources and the way they came together made it happen. And so we try to bring that spirit, and yeah, you have to have the why in it. And it's like the concentric circles, why you start with the why and you go out with the what and the how and everything else. And so
exactly. That's awesome. Yeah, I love what you said about having a team. Like you just go one place and then there's a whole team that can help you with all these different resources. That's pretty cool. So Kim, I wanted to ask you can you tell us a little summarized version of your story? What got you interested in marketing? How long did you know that's what you wanted to do? And then how did you get to kind of where you are today?
I would probably say it's maybe by accident that I got into marketing. And I say that tongue in cheek a little bit. Well, first, I grew up in, I don't know if this is controversial, but I grew up in an Asian family. So my parents wanted me to be a doctor or an attorney or an engineer or something like that.
Okay.
I was going to go to school and do that. So when I went to BYU, I was a math major. I was a pre-med major. I did all those things thinking that's what I was supposed to do. But I fell in love with languages. I got involved with French. I actually majored in French at BYU in international relations. I thought I was going to go maybe either become a professor somewhere or work in foreign services. And so I had the opportunity to teach French. I was a senior by credits, and so I still had 2 years of school left. And I was invited to try out and got a teacher's assistant role where I taught French 101 and 102 courses at BYU when I was still going to school there. And typically they provided that opportunity for graduate students or other people. So I did that, but once I graduated, I thought, I want to do something else. And I had no idea what that would be. And the department wanted me to go get a master's and doctorate, come back and be a professor. And I just thought, that's not my path potentially. And I said, let me just go work. And so I responded to a newspaper advertising to work for the Utah Grizzlies in Utah.
Really?
And an ice hockey team. I love ice hockey, and they had just moved from Colorado and from Denver, Colorado. And it was right before the Olympics. And 100 people showed up for this interview. And they interviewed us on the spot, 100 people together. And it was the craziest thing I've ever been involved with. So they whittled us down to like 12 individuals. And then they had us cold calling to corporations, doing things such as, selling season tickets and group tickets. And we did that. They had some expert to teach us how to cold call. And I'd never done that before. Okay. But I'd always been, in terms of work and so forth, I'd always be managing things. And so I just jumped right into it. And I was able to sell enough where at the very end, they hired 4 of the 12 for full-time positions for the Utah Grizzlies. And we were at the Delta Center where the Utah Jazz were playing basketball. So I did that for a year. And I said, you know what, this is great. I love it. I was doing a lot of cool things. But I said, I got to go back to school. I was thinking about law school and other things. Had no idea about business. And then one of my friends said he was going to Thunderbird University, which is down in Glendale, Arizona. And I said, well, let me think about that. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll do that. That's 2 years versus 3 years. And so I took the GMAT, got a good score, applied for that school and some other schools, and then thought I got a scholarship to come to Thunderbird. I came down, and for whatever reason, I just felt maybe it wasn't the right time, and I deferred my acceptance. And I took another year to work. And then I said, you know what, let me just apply to the University of Texas. It's been a while since I've been home in Texas. And of course, I was fortunate enough to be accepted. And when I got accepted, it was in 1997. In 1998 is when I went and enrolled. And that was before the bubble burst, but there's digital marketing, digital companies, all of that was like high tech was great. Dell was there. So I wanted to get into high-tech marketing, and that's why I went to the University of Texas, Austin.
Nice.
And then, and so I ended up at interviewing like everyone else for companies, and my first internship interview was with Proctor Gamble.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, I really had no idea what Proctor Gamble was about. Now, my colleagues, my classmates would say, man, it's hard to get an interview with those guys. And in fact, I didn't even apply for the interview. And I went in there, and this is kind of like, maybe this is something that, for me, my value is like, I'm pretty open and pretty honest. And so I went in there and said, hey, I'm really grateful. Of course, I subsequently learned more about the company, but I told them, I said, frankly, I didn't even apply for this interview, guys, but I'm appreciative. And they told me they saw my resume, they wanted to meet me, et cetera, et cetera. And one thing led to another. I took at that time, we called it the P and G Mat, which was a test that you have to take they give you, they say, hey, you passed the interviews, then you have to take this test. And if you don't pass it, they don't offer you the internship. So you have to pass that test and you go through. And then just one thing led to another. And I realized, wow, I love marketing, and being at the premier marketing company, which I kind of stumbled into a little bit. I had my internship was on Mr. Clean. I had great projects. I had a lot of hair at that time. And then subsequently, I look better now without the hair, I guess, but it was a great internship opportunity. They offered me a full-time position. I subsequently accepted, and I went back there. And since I was at P&G, I went from there. I continued. I went to Campbell's, like you talked about, and I just kind of followed along. And there were people. I followed people more than the job. So someone at Campbell's I knew was a senior person. I went there. And then someone at Henkel I knew, and they were doing some really cool things. I talked to them. And then, so I was following the business in terms of opportunities and people, which led me to certain things. And so it's been a wonderful career. I've learned quite a bit and still have a lot of learning, but I've been able to share a lot of those things and help people now in Moonshot 11, where I feel that I'm able to combine some of the great things I've learned and the relationships and to apply it in a way to help businesses really grow and have fun doing it, and especially from a value standpoint, making sure that the values that I have is integrated into the work that we do and the customers with whom we work.
That's awesome. So something I've noticed is I think there's a lot of young people who just want to go out and start their business and have it grow. But something I noticed about you, and I noticed about a lot of successful people, it seems like, as they go and they actually work for companies first and try to learn as much as they can, learn kind of at other people's dime. They're not doing their own business, but it seemed like you learned a lot of lessons in marketing and just the corporate world before you went and did your own small businesses and started Moonshot 11. So would you say that's true? And what kind of lessons did you learn when you were working for these big marketing companies?
Well, before I worked at P&G, I had not really worked at a big company before. The company had 100,000 employees worldwide.
Wow.
And you learn right away how to navigate in a very complex organization. And so what I learned really was a lot of leadership opportunities and how to deal with complexity and to get things done when things were really difficult sometimes, or maybe things were set. And for me, a lot of the learning was ultimately something that you can take away, whether you're young or going to, is the opportunity to learn leadership, to learn how to work with people, to learn emotional intelligence type things that are really important regardless of the industry or the type of business you're in. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're always selling. Daniel Pink has this book called The Art of Selling. You're always, even if you're not in sales, you are trying to persuade people. You're always trying to do things like that. Yeah, the art of selling, exactly. And so that's something that is really important to learn, and to learn those softer skills and attributes. And for me, that really helped mold the person that I am, because I was able to develop and learn how to work with a lot of people. I mean, I had a 2-year assignment living in Germany with Henkel. And so our family lived there, and I had a leadership role, where I was responsible for Western Europe, which means that Germany, I was working, I was trying to learn German. I worked with people in France and Spain and Portugal, Italy, and everything. And all those cultures and all those different styles of working together, I had to become more fluent, not only in the languages, but more fluent in the cultural type of work. And the more fluent you are with people and leadership and how to, based on the situation, apply your skills and experiences, the better chance you are with being successful, of getting an outcome that you want, or that is helpful for others when you work with them.
Nice. I love that. What are some of the big differences you found when you're involved in marketing, like in-house versus at an agency? What are those differences, and kind of what do you like about the different situations? Which one do you like more, maybe?
That's a great question. At the end of the day, everyone always wish they have more resources. When I was on the Tide business, and where I was managing a marketing budget plus a trade budget, and that amount was $250 million budget. And we always complained that we didn't have enough money. And because it was always allocated or fixed on something. And so whether it's and inside company where you're working the marketing and so forth, we really knew our strategies. We really knew the business, the product side, all the operational side. And to have marketers that are internal try to come up with campaigns, creative ideas to bring that work to life, to translate the strategy into something that the consumer would see, you wouldn't have a lot of value there. And so the agency, they're able to be more independent. They're thinking about the business. They need to connect to the strategy and bring it to life in a heart, mind, compelling way that connects with the end consumer. And so for me, I think you need both. So what we do, I like to think of Moonshot Agency, the agency as an unagency. I don't like to think of myself as an agency that does the creative. I mean, we have that, but really we're able to not only bring things to life, but we are also like an internal marketing department for companies that don't have or need a lot more supplemental resources or help for their internal folks. So in the end, if for my business to scale, I like to be able to help a lot of companies get the marketing department that they wanted to if they don't have one. And also we can bring it to life as well because we have the ability to do that. And so that's where my value proposition is in terms of future growth as we communicate with prospects and potential customers. So
that's cool. And as an agency, I think you told me like it's just kind of it's a cool position to be in, a cool place because you're helping a lot of people, like even like oncologists and all these different like other businesses that are bringing a lot of value to people. That it's kind of a fulfilling venture, right?
yeah, absolutely. You know, listening is important. I think the more experience I get, the more I realize that um, the more perhaps secure one becomes and the more one listens. I realize that creativity can come from anywhere. It doesn't have to come from me. The answer definitely doesn't need to come from me alone. I may have a lot of things that I've learned, but I would probably say one of the most important things I've learned is the value of being able to observe and to listen. And based on that, that applies really well from an agency standpoint. It applies really well, I think, in life in general. And my wife would tell me that I still have a long way to go in terms of the listening aspect. But I think that listening is so important. Like, I mean, just stating some of the things in our past conversations just gives me an emotional engagement, says, wow, Charlie took our conversation to heart and he was able to internalize that. And that creates a lot of connection and confidence in things. So, and I'm all about emotional engagement when it comes to helping customers connect with their own clients and so forth. And that's what's really important.
That's cool. Yeah, I love it. Something I've found interesting, kind of just watching the world right now, it seems like a lot of things are shifting to social media. Like the phone is so big, like things aren't on the TV, like people don't watch commercials anymore. So those things are just shifting. And something I've noticed along with that is that organic reach, like on social media and actual companies making content is a really good idea for businesses. What have you kind of noticed about organic content, like for a brand to really get a brand to grow for a long term versus like just these transactional things? Because I feel like a lot of companies in the long term, sometimes they won't grow because they're so transactionally driven. So what are your thoughts on that, brand versus transactional?
Well, I think you're heading in the right direction. First off, you know, Facebook still is one of the big ROIs when you do even advertising and so forth.
Right.
And given the current situation, a lot more people have more time, so they just have, there's more eyeballs on social media. They're becoming connected that way because there's so much social disconnection right now, physically, for example.
Right.
But I'm a big believer in a little bit over time wins the race. And so, as you know, we both recently did marathons, right?
Yeah.
There's just no way that we could just say, you know what, I think I'm going to run a marathon and a week from now and do all the training in 1 week to get the benefit that you need to really do that race. And I think that's the same thing in business. It's not a sprint. It is an ongoing race, and consistency will win out over time. And there's a book out there that actually my son recommended to me called Slight Edge. You may have read it, you may have heard of it. And it's the same principle, little by little, line upon line. And I believe that the content you refer to, one of our focuses as agency is we do inbound marketing. And inbound marketing, the way I distill it, define it is, how do you help people? You help people by giving them information, whether it's blogs or ebooks, but they're searching for help.
Right.
You're looking for help. And if you can provide that help in a way that is very easy for them to consume, they're going to reward you by recommending, by maybe even purchasing you. And I think those efforts, because they're genuine, helping, giving relevant things that people want and need over time, they will reward you. And I'm big, we're a HubSpot partner. We're big into that funnel where you attract, engage, and delight. And if you have someone who's a customer like that, they eventually become advocates. They either spend more with you, they tell more people about you, and it just gets your funnel going even in a greater magnitude. And so I believe over time, and that's what we tell people, let's make sure that we get organic content, not because it's just organic, but it's because it's the information that your customers are looking for. And if you can be the best or be one of the best at providing that, they're going to reward you because they need you. And it's that type of connection that is really strong, where people keep coming back, not because they're loyal, it's because they need you. They need you because you help them the best way possible get their jobs done.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, you said marketing is complicated, which is true. The world of marketing is very complicated, but in a sense, it's very simple as far as like a business. Like the simplicity of a business growing is providing value to people, providing value to their customers. And so I love how you said that people want help. And so if you're the one who's helping them, you're making things easier for them, you're taking care of them. And when in the context of organic content, you're providing value to them, there's, of course you're going to grow. Of course you're going to get more customers, because that's the whole point.
Exactly.
So I told you when we were getting ready for this to maybe think of a couple stories, either something crazy that happened, or I didn't realize you were in Germany for a little bit. That's cool. Or just like a really cool story. So do you have any stories from your marketing career that you think would be interesting for people to hear?
I shared a little bit about how I kind of stumbled onto things, and I said that tongue in cheek. And the reason why I think it's important to always be moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
You may not know exactly what it is. And so in that case, I knew I wanted to do marketing. I knew I wanted to do, actually at that point, I wanted to do high-tech marketing. I had no idea about P&G, but I went to that. And as I went and I learned more, and then I adjusted. I decided, you know what, and I think at that time, we had 600 MBA students, first and second years at Texas.
Wow.
And so imagine 100 or so marketers that were wanting to get internships. And there were only like 4 internships available at P&G, and everyone wanted that. I started to realize, hey, you know what? I probably stumbled onto a good thing. Might as well go with it. I was still interested in high-tech marketing. In fact, when I got the offer, I went back and interviewed for opportunities in high-tech with Dell. I went to Eli Lilly. I went to some other companies, but it all came back to the P&G experience. And so I think oftentimes in our careers, we think it's got to be this, or I have to have it totally planned out. And I think whether serendipity or chance, but I think as you're always developing and always progressing forward and ready to be flexible and adjust, I think opportunities do come. And I think that's the same thing with the current environment. It is difficult. Don't get me wrong. It is challenging. Nevertheless, if you're doing the right things and look for those opportunities, I think they'll present themselves. And so that's been my career all along. And I've, that the personification of trying to connect with people, I believe, is what I love. And so when I lived in Germany, I was on a team. There was 30 people that would be in this meeting. Everyone's German, right? I'm the only one. I'm from the United States. They asked me, Kim, would you like to speak in English or would you like to speak in German? Okay. I had 1 week crash course speaking German at Thunderbird University. And what did I decide to do? I decided to speak German. Although I knew that I would miss out some things, I also knew that signal or that action would build at least trust for a little bit, right? And then I spent every day on my U-Bahn trip to work, about 45-minute trip to and from. studying my lights out, trying to, like crazy, trying to study German. I spoke German, and in fact, I mean, I love the German culture, German food. I was eating things that my German colleagues like, oh man, you are just too German, And I remember going and presenting, and people were saying, wow, you're kind of like, you're German, you're pretty direct on certain things and so forth. And but I think it just builds some credibility and connection. And so anytime you can do that and try to go the extra mile and really connect with people and do things the way that they may prefer, um, I think that's a really helpful thing. And so I always try to connect with people on that. I look at things, what they do, and see if I can make sure that to support in that way. And so that really helped me a lot. And it was a humbling experience, but I persisted through, and I was able to. At the end of the day, when we left, I felt like I could communicate pretty clearly with folks, and it really helped me get a lot of the work that I needed done.
I love that. Yeah, I think that says a lot about you. That was interesting when you had that option, do I speak German or not? But you decided to, even though you weren't ready, you weren't fully, there, but show that you're willing to push yourself and that you're mindful of other people and what that would mean as you being a part of a team. I feel like I'm kind of similar, and I remember several experiences of just like opportunities coming up, and it's like, oh, I'm not ready for that. I'm a little nervous. It's hard, but if you just say yes, you say yes to the opportunities, and then you get ready, you do whatever is necessary. Over the course of your life, you'll just have cool experiences where you push yourself. I'd always rather lean towards a hard experience than something like playing it safe. So I think that's really interesting, and I also think a lot of young people and all people, honestly, when there's something that they want to do, they put too much value on other people's opinions. Like they're just worried about the judgment, and that insecurity really kind of holds them back. So I think that's important. What's some things you noticed about people's mindset as far as when they're starting businesses or trying to grow? What are some of those limiting beliefs? And is it oftentimes people are just worried about judgment in order to do something great, in order to go to the next step?
Well, thinking and valuing people's judgments is something that never goes away. That's something that's innate for, I think, human beings. Someone told me once that, being an entrepreneur, you're either crazy or you're really just a glutton for punishment. And so those alternatives are, not very appealing. But I think doubt is always something there, self-doubt or doubt because others are saying it. And I think when you start an endeavor, whether it's a new company or something new that you haven't done, or something that's very difficult and hard, there's going to be more people that are the naysayers because otherwise they would have done it. They would have been there, And so we know that most companies that start fail. We know that most initiatives in companies fail. We know, I mean, there's a lot of those things, but the difference is not because someone was more talented or something, or someone had not even necessarily resources, but I believe that attributes of leaders and individuals, that really makes the difference at the end of the day. The ability to have grit, to grind things out, and to continue moving forward. I think those qualities are what defines it. And yeah, there's a little bit of luck. There's a little bit of the industry. I mean, those things do happen, but I think more often than not, those individuals that press forward and have the type of grit. I mean, there's a great book called the Grit by Angela Duckworth that talks about what differentiates someone who's successful and someone who's not. And it's not talent. I mean, talent is an important part, but really it's the effort behind that makes the difference at the end of the day. And so I think whether you're young or old, and that's one of the things that's one of our values, just effort, just keep on pressing forward, and don't be afraid to ask for help. And there are, I mean, judgment's important. In fact, you want mentors, you want advisors at any age. But I think that self-determination of wanting to press forward is so critical to be successful.
Yeah, 100%. One thing Will Smith said at some point that really resonated with me was, you might be better looking than me, you might be more talented than I am, just all these things, but I will never get off the treadmill. That's what he says. I'll just keep on going, and I know I'll outwork you. That's something you have complete control over. So I love that that's a perspective that you have, because I think there's so much more in people's control than they realize. A lot of people have this kind of external locus of control, but there's so much in your control, and you got to recognize what is and what isn't. When there's a lot of things that aren't, but don't be stressed out and worried about those things. Be worried about what you can do. And when you realize that, you've got so much power. You can make the things that you want to do a reality. And I think, yeah, it's like you were saying earlier, when something can go wrong, it's going to go wrong. These failures are just a part of the process. And so you can't let your fear of failure stop you. I mean, you just need to keep on going to where you want to go.
Right, right. And, congratulations on the why. But there's hundreds of schools out there, and that's great that you got in the why. Some people may get there, get in Harvard, MIT, whatever. At the end of the day, it depends on your effort at those individual institutions, and you can make the most of anywhere you end up going and continue moving forward. And so it's who knows, you may do something totally different, but as long as you're working, making progress, adjusting, you'll fall into those things. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So,
I love that. It's a long life. There's a lot of things. And I think a lot of older people maybe in your position think, I'm done. Or I mean, think about when you were my age. And how old are you now, Kiem?
I'm 49.
49. When you were my age, how old did you think 49 was? You thought it was pretty old.
I didn't know that people were actually that old, but now that I am, it's, the interesting thing, because you're 18?
Yeah.
So I still think I'm 18 in my head sometimes, and that doesn't go away. You feel kind of like young, and, you do things like you work out in order to kind of, I'm a big believer in physical fitness. And so I love marathon training because it's more of the training that I love to do. And so I try not to miss a day without going to do a run or all the slight edge stuff, If I miss one day, it's not a big deal, maybe 2 or 3, but over time, it becomes a big deal. And then all of a sudden it's like a precipitous drop. But it can also happen where you do this and you work out and all of a sudden it's a hockey stick because you've been doing those type of things. And so that's why I like endurance type of sports, because it requires that persistence and slight edge over time. So, but yeah, it says my VO2 max is I'm a younger 20-year-old. So I'm going to go with that when people ask me.
That's funny. Yeah, no, but seriously, life is long, and I think what you said is a testament to that fact, is that you're 49, but you've got your life in front of you. You've got so much you can do, and you could take different pivots. Honestly, you could go in a different career and get started and do that if that's something you decide to do. It's just possible. And so I think you're right when you say just move forward, and you won't know what it's going to look like, because it is so long, and because of serendipity and all these things. Like you as another example, you moved to different companies because of people you knew there. It wasn't because of this big plan that you figured out when you're doing your MBA. It was no, things just shifted and you made the next right choice. And so I think that's just about patience and that understanding that life is in terms of long time periods.
If you have it figured out at 18, that's awesome.
Thank you. Well, I don't. Yeah, another thing I wanted to ask you is, we talked about a lot of stuff, like kind of from up here, a lot of big life stuff, but for businesses out there, people who want to start businesses, who have one and want them to grow, what's the biggest thing you think that attributes to successful businesses or that grow over time?
That's a great question. I think the importance of always developing your business and networking, I can't say enough about that. There's a lot of things. It's all interconnected. Financial acumen, making sure that you're on top of your finances, the cash flow. Those are basic fundamental things that you definitely want to know. But at the end of the day, it's really, when I see businesses not doing well, but they're able to provide a good service, oftentimes it's because they're not able to communicate and deliver that messaging right. That's where someone like me will come in and say, you know what, you're like you're the best pizza maker out there, but you're just not connecting with, not enough people know about you.
Right.
I can help there. Sometimes it's like you're not delivering a service, but you're promising that you're the best. And it's just there's a gap there. And so I think, yeah, delivering if you think you're a great cook, or that's great, but you gotta make sure that from a message communication how to understand what that need is, and then be able to connect with the right folks. And I think it's fundamental. I think that's why I'm not saying that marketing has the answers to everything, but if true marketing, when you understand foundationally what a company or a brand or a person stands for, and then you're able to connect that in the minds and hearts of others, that's pretty powerful. In fact, it was Al Ries, who was one of the pioneers, of the founding fathers, if you will, of marketing, said that marketers, they don't change people's minds. They connect and understand what's in their mind, and then they take what is out there, what they have, and position it in such a way that it fits. So it's like, oh wow, that's that's what I want. That's something for me.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you see a couple businesses where they really just focus on what they're delivering and it's great and people reach it. But the truth is, in most case scenarios, you can have the best product service around, but if no one knows about you, you're not going to have a successful business. You need to be able to reach the customer. And I think the important part is understand what the customer cares about. Like it's when I think about like How to Win Friends and Influence People, that book, it talks about focusing on what they care about, what's important, and removing their pain points. Like, I was a DJ. If you're the best DJ around and you're just, self-promoting, or you're getting better, and you might be a great DJ, but you're not thinking about, what is it that people really want that's going to make them buy? What do they really care about? Then you're not going to get customers, clients. Like, that's the important part, is understanding that connection, and where is it that's the important connection. What do they care about?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a great conversation, Kim. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your wisdom and your experiences. Kind of final question. There's a lot of young hustlers, young listeners out there listening to this. So what would you say to your 18-year-old self, let's say, or you're in college getting started? What would be that key piece of advice that you think is important to understand?
That's a great question. I think I would probably say keep going, have confidence that things are work out, but go do something. Whatever you're hustling or whatever you're working on, if you believe in it, go for it. And but work hard at it. And if you keep going, you're going to be successful, regardless of whether that success is at the greatest companies or doing something else that you never thought it would be imaginable in terms of a role and opportunity. So I'd probably tell myself or others that are thinking about, what am I going to do? It's like, okay, well, we'll come up with the best idea, talk to people, do that research, but then act and go forth and do. And if you're doing that and you're taking the initiative and you're not waiting like if you're at a big corporation and people are like, well, who's going to do this? And you're just looking around, jump in, be the person that others can rely on. You're going to go far with that type of initiative and courage. And so I would probably say, keep going, work hard, be courageous, be fierce in going out there. And regardless of what industry or what role or opportunities, you'll make the most of it. And in essence, I think you'll be satisfied and pretty happy with yourself.
I love that. Yeah, that's really the game. That's really important. And something I think people don't realize is, like, if you do nothing, if you do no actions, you're 0 for 0. But if you do a bunch of actions, like you're courageous, you do what you think is right, and you move forward, you might be 1 for 20, but 1 for 20 is better than 0 for 0, right? You're still up by that one. So that's really the key. So Kim, thanks so much. That's some awesome advice, awesome content that we got here. So thank you. Where can people connect with you, or if they want to reach out to Moonshot 11, where are those places that they can connect with you guys?
Yeah, so obviously moonshot11.com is our URL. We're also on, LinkedIn. You can go to me there. My email address is kho@moonshot11.com, and I'm happy to answer any questions or actually really help where I can. So glad to be of service or help in any way, Charlie.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This has been great. Well, we'll talk to you later. Good luck with everything.
Okay, you too. Stay healthy and happy.
All right, see ya.
All right, bye-bye.